We all know World War II was a time of unimaginable chaos and conflict, but amongst the bombings and battles, a more sinister kind of warfare was unfolding. Welcome to Whispers of Weird, where we dive into the terrifying, the strange, dark, and the stories that chill you to the core. Today we're diving deep into the dark corners of history to explore three of the most chilling and grotesque experiments ever conducted. Buckle up as we uncover the disturbing truths behind these nightmarish projects. Our first story takes place in the heart of Japan. Now we all know Japan was known for some of its bizarre war tactics and crazy war methods, like the kamikaze pilots and the horrifying events of Pearl Harbor, but there was a unit you may not have heard about. A unit so shocking and terrifying that most will not talk about it to this day. What was that unit called, you may ask? Well, stay watching because we're about to find out. Unit 731, known officially as the Epidemic Prevention and Water Purification Department, was a clandestine division of the Imperial Japanese Army. Situated in Harbin, Manchuria, this unit was responsible for some of the most horrific human experiments in history. Established in 1935 and led by General Shiro Ishii, Unit 731 operated with a level of secrecy and brutality that few can fathom. Harbin, a city in northeastern China, became the epicenter of these atrocities. Unit 731 was shrouded in secrecy, with its real purpose hidden behind a facade of medical research, but what its real intent was, will absolutely terrify you. The experiments conducted by Unit 731 were nothing short of horrific. Victims, often prisoners of war and civilians, were subjected to unimaginable torment through some of the most horrifying experimental methods such as forced exposure to deadly pathogens and extreme weather conditions to test physical conditions. The goal? To test biological and chemical weapons in the most brutal ways imaginable. One particularly gruesome procedure was the dissection of live subjects. Without anesthesia, individuals were dissected to study the effects of diseases and injuries on the human body in real time. Imagine being awake while your organs are cut open. This was the reality for countless victims of Unit 731. But who could lead such a horrifying experimental unit such as Unit 731? Surgeon General Shiro Ishii was the Japanese microbiologist, army medical officer, and war criminal who served as the director of Unit 731. Ishii also led the development and application of biological weapons in Manchukuo during the Second Sino-Japanese War from 1937 to 1945, including the bubonic plague attacks at the Chinese cities of Chengde and Ningbo, and planned the Operation Cherry Blossoms, a biological attack to take place at night against the United States. Ishii and his colleagues and their human experimentation resulted in the deaths of over 10,000 subjects during his time as general. Following Japan's surrender in 1945, the horrors of Unit 731 came to light. However, instead of facing justice, many key figures including Shiro Ishii were granted immunity in exchange for their research data. This controversial decision allowed many perpetrators to escape accountability, leaving their victims without the justice they deserved. The legacy of Unit 731 remains a stark reminder of the depths of human cruelty. The experiments conducted there have left a disturbing mark on history, illustrating the extreme measures and terrifying length some countries would take during this dark period of human history to win at any cost. But Japan was not the only one conducting these types of experiments at this time, nor was it the only country willing to do experiment on its own citizens and prisoners. America and Britain also had their fair share of horrifying experiments, contributing the nightmares that would forever change human history as we know it. Mustard gas, a chemical warfare agent first used in World War I, continued to be a tool of terror in World War II. But beyond its use on the battlefield, extensive experiments were conducted to understand its effects, often with horrifying results. Mustard gas is a blistering agent that causes severe burns and blistering on the skin and lungs of any subject that comes in contact with the toxic substance. During World War II, the effects of mustard gas were studied in horrific detail to further understand the devastating effects that this toxic gas could inflict on neighboring enemies. One of the most disturbing aspects of these experiments involved human subjects. In various countries, including Japan and Germany, people were subjected to exposure tests to gauge the effectiveness of mustard gas and other chemical agents. Victims were exposed to mustard gas in controlled environments, often without proper protective gear. The results were excruciating: severe skin burns, respiratory damage, and long-term health complications. Some victims were subjected to multiple tests, enduring prolonged suffering. Most of the subjects were also categorized into different racial groups to see the different effects of this deadly gas would have and what its impact would have on the different subjects. A lot of African American soldiers were the targets of these horrifying experiments. Post-war investigations revealed the extent of these experiments, though many details remain shrouded in secrecy. The use of mustard gas during the war, coupled with these barbaric experiments, highlighted the brutal lengths to which nations would go to develop and test their weapons. The legacy of these experiments serves as a grim reminder of the inhumanity that can arise from the pursuit of military superiority over each other, and the disturbing lengths some are willing to go to in order to achieve it. Our last horrifying and disturbing experiment, you might know, inspiring the legendary creepypasta, the Russian sleep experiment, was actually a real experiment conducted in the Soviet Union during World War II, which would have just as horrifying effects on its subjects as the story would have us to believe. In the shadows of the Cold War, Soviet scientists conducted experiments that pushed the boundaries of human endurance. Among these were the sleep deprivation studies, aimed at understanding how prolonged wakefulness affects the human mind and body. These experiments were conducted under the guise of scientific research, but the results were deeply unsettling, and resulted in some of the most disturbing effects humans could have imagined. Subjects in these experiments were kept awake for extended periods, sometimes days or even weeks. The methods used to prevent sleep were varied. Constant sensory stimulation, physical restraints, and psychological stress were all employed. The results were horrifying. As sleep deprivation continued, subjects experienced severe hallucinations, extreme paranoia, and psychological breakdowns. Some even reported hearing voices and experiencing delusions. The human mind, when deprived of rest, can unravel in truly disturbing ways and leave permanent damage that can never be undone. Many of the subjects who survived these experiments were left with lasting psychological scars. The research, while revealing the critical need for sleep, also highlighted the inhumane methods used to extract these insights. Today, the legacy of these experiments informs our understanding of sleep and mental health. But the methods used to obtain this knowledge remain a dark chapter in the history of scientific research, and the untold monstrosities mankind will do in order to achieve them. Unit 731, with the mustard gas experiments and Soviet sleep deprivation studies, represents some of the darkest aspects of World War II. These experiments remind us of the depths of human cruelty and the importance of ethical considerations in scientific research. As we reflect on these grim chapters, we must strive to ensure such horrors are never repeated and learn from what history has taught us form these horrifying experiments. If you found this exploration into history's darkest experiments intriguing, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden corners of our past. Share your thoughts and questions in the comments below. What other historical mysteries would you like us to uncover? Thank you for watching. Stay curious, stay safe, and join us next time as we continue to uncover more strange and terrifying stories.